Monsters and Memories is a new MMORPG being developed to be a niche, smaller budget indie MMO that is self-aware of their budget and what they can produce in a timely manner. They are creating a classic fantasy MMO akin to games such as EverQuest, or likely a lot in common with Project Gorgon in production value, if truth be told, and from what I gather. Because their view and scope of the project is extremely realistic, I do believe this is one to look out for if you want that classically spirited MMORPG itch to be scratched. They are going for a low polygon, hand-painted, miniature type of look to their graphic style that looks much akin to artwork from old D&D books. Monsters and Memories wants the nostalgia to hit you hard, as they feel that the timelessness of these classic MMORPGs will hold it through, and there is quite a bit to be said about that philosophy for so many of us. This isn't to say it should run at low frames per second or seem low quality, but they want to leave a bit for the imagination to kind of fill in those blanks, they say. And having this kind of scope on their development really makes this feel like an accomplishable project. The world itself they want to be unique, but still feel familiar with classic tropes of races and classes that any fantasy MMO fan would love. Monsters and Memories also want to pay homage to the classic MMORPG combat, as you would expect from classic era MMOs, with slower progression, taking longer to level up, and spending time in areas as opposed to breezing through them so fast that you never respect them. The activities and challenge of the game is set to be a single group type adventures, making finding friends relevant, but that isn't to say that you can't solo, but they do mention that even those type of activities should tie in some way into communal purposes. They mention the world and the starting city designs to focus on longevity, and the world being a place that has ever-changing content and NPC behaviors. They plan for the world of Monsters and Memories to have seasons, factions, and lore and story that invokes mystery and discovery. They are using the Unity engine due to the speed that they can get the game created, but it's worth mentioning that they say their server has been rewritten from scratch. The races we know of so far in Monsters and Memories are the Deep Dwarves, Deep Elves, Deep Gnomes, the Dwarves, Gnomes, Goblins, Halflings, High Elves, Humans, Ogres, Trolls, and Wood Elves, so right in line with EverQuest or other fantasy MMOs. Now the classes available though, there's quite a few, are the Archer, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Elementalist, Enchanter, Fighter, Inquisitor, Monk, Necromancer, Paladin, Rogue, Ranger, Shadow Knight, Shaman, Spellblade, Warden, and Wizard. With 18 classes, you should not be want for options. They also talk about wanting the world of Monsters and Memories to be as open and public and shared as possible, and avoiding instancing, unless there are specific reasons where instancing is the only solution to a problem. So it sounds like public dungeons are a definite go, and I'm all about that life. When asked about rating, they said that the development is focused on single group content in order to address the common cases of what to do with solo and group players instead of encouraging multi-grouping or raid-based progression. And as far as soloing goes, they say that it is possible, but the classes are dependent upon one another, so the content is tuned with groups of 2 or 3 to 6 people. However, as we all know in these type of classic MMO worlds, you can always kill easier mobs for those times when you want to be a loner. As far as world size, they don't go into specifics, but they do say they're developing an overworld, underworld, and alternate planes of reality, heavens, and all with plenty of history. However, their proof of concept is roughly 3 to 5 zones in a specific area, they say on the western coastal desert region called Night Harbor. Depending on how this all goes will drive the scope of the rest of the game to launch. Now, when asked why they went with zones, they replied that they just felt that these zones match the kind of game they want to make. I'm sure this has a lot to do with classic MMOs of the past such as EverQuest, but Monsters and Memories developers say they really do like that zone line kind of run with a train chasing you, hoofing it with a few hit points left and saved by the zone line kind kind of gameplay. As far as the setting itself is concerned, it is a new universe but rooted in traditional Western high fantasy. Of course, they have their own flair to the lore, but they want it to have that feeling of familiarity that we talked about earlier. Now, they are of course shooting for a niche market of classically spirited MMO lovers looking for a good challenge and a more freeform MMO style of gameplay and exploration. They also state they are wanting to do a monthly subscription instead of microtransactions. They said that things they sell in the shop should be real-world items such as t-shirts and things to support additionally to the development team in that way. They think their core audience will be us old fogies who loved the old MUDs or pen and paper tabletop RPGs, CRPGs of the past, or people of course that just want to return to classic MMORPGs. This is a PC experience with no talks or plans to go to consoles due to the type of gameplay it is trying to represent, and then they go on to say, and I quote, "There are no plans for supporting other platforms at this time, despite some of you allegedly having phones," end quote, which I got a good giggle out of. So this is what we know of Monsters and Memories, and if you like classic MMORPGs of yesteryear, this is one you should have or add to your radar. As more information is released, I will cover it more, and if the developers want to, reach out to me for some of that exclusive sneak peek content, I'm here, and I love old school MMOs, and so does my audience, so put a ring on it, baby. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this project, and if you would be interested in it as it becomes available to test or even at launch. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing, because if you made it this far, we were meant to be together. And hit that like button to help me fight that boss that is known as the YouTube algorithm. And until next time, my friends, God bless and happy gaming.